Let's jump right in. Throughout history, time has a funny way of burying its greatest minds beneath the weight of ordinary men's fear. But some vaults, they just refuse to stay sealed. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're opening up the Chronovault and unsealing the hidden files on a man who literally held the future in his hands right before it was completely stolen from him.
Get this. They say he was born at the exact stroke of midnight, right in the middle of a crazy, violent lightning storm. The midwife who was there actually called it a bad omen, but his mother, she just called it destiny. His name, of course, was Nikola Tesla. And right from the very beginning, it was like the universe spoke to him in a language that literally no one else could hear.
Section 1. The Mind from Tomorrow. The Gifted Outsider.
So when Tesla arrived in America in 1884, he stepped off the boat with exactly 4 cents to his name and a letter of recommendation. That's it. But to really grasp how he ended up reshaping civilization, we have to talk about how his brain functioned. As a kid, Tesla didn't need physical blueprints, he didn't need prototypes. He described experiencing these blinding flashes of light, followed by complete, flawless solutions to engineering problems. He could visualize complex machines and run entire successful experiments entirely in his head. Nowadays, science calls this hyperphantasia. Tesla, he just called it a gift from somewhere else.
Now, that letter of recommendation I mentioned, it was actually addressed to Thomas Edison, and it famously read, "I know 2 great men. One is you, Edison. The other is this young man." Edison hired him on the spot. Tesla ended up working these absolutely grueling 18-hour shifts, fixing and completely overhauling Edison's systems. And Edison had promised him this massive $50,000 bonus if he pulled it off. Well, Tesla, being Tesla, succeeded brilliantly, but when he finally asked for his hard-earned money, Edison just laughed right in his face and said, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." He never paid him a single dime.
Unsurprisingly, Tesla quit. Which brings us to Section 2, the War of Currents. Progress versus profit.
Here's the core of the issue. Edison championed direct current, or DC, but Tesla immediately saw its fatal flaw. DC couldn't travel very far without losing power. It was incredibly limited. It's kind of like trying to water a whole farm with a leaky garden hose. Tesla's vision, on the other hand, was alternating current, or AC. AC could travel thousands of miles and power entire metropolitan cities. It was basically the only real way to power the world. Edison knew his technology was vastly inferior, so he fought back, viciously. To make the public terrified of AC, Edison orchestrated a massive smear campaign. He publicly electrocuted animals, cats, dogs. He even electrocuted a circus elephant named Topsy. He went so far as to try and get the newly invented electric chair named after Tesla. History calls this the War of Currents. But honestly, it was really just a dark, desperate war of progress against profit.
But thankfully, truth and superior engineering ultimately won out. Tesla wins. His alternating current system illuminated the 1893 World's Fair in this absolutely dazzling display, proving once and for all that it was completely safe and unbelievably powerful. And today, AC current powers literally every single home, factory, and hospital on Earth. Every single time you flip a light switch, I really want you to remember that you are living right inside Tesla's vision.
Moving on to Section 3, the dream of free energy and the Wardenclyffe Tower.
So, winning the War of Currents, that just wasn't enough for Tesla. See, he wasn't motivated by a paycheck. He was thinking so much bigger, aiming for an unprecedented ambition: free energy for absolutely everyone. In 1901, he started building the massive Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island. Now, this wasn't just some radio tower. This was a utopian vision. Tesla believed he could use the Earth's natural electromagnetic resonance as a giant conductor to transmit electrical power wirelessly across the entire planet. Just imagine that for a second. No power lines, no electric bills, no energy poverty. A kid in a remote village would have the exact same access to electricity as a Wall Street millionaire. He didn't just want to power the world, you guys. He wanted to make it completely equal.
But then, we hit a massive, devastating roadblock. Tesla's financier, JP Morgan, that JP Morgan, had invested heavily in the project. But when Morgan finally realized the true nature of this wireless system, he reportedly asked this one defining question. If anyone can draw on the power, where do we put the meter? And there's the catch, right? There was no answer Tesla could give him, because the whole point of the project was that there was no meter. Because free, limitless energy couldn't be boxed up and monetized, Morgan pulled his funding completely. Instantly. And just like that, the dream was over. Built in 1901, the funding dried up fast, and by 1917, Wardenclyffe Tower was totally torn down. It was literally sold for scrap metal just to pay off Tesla's mounting debts. His beautiful dream of a truly equal, powered world was dismantled, brick by agonizing brick.
Section 4. The Stolen Secrets. The Lost Notebooks. Wardenclyffe was just one of the incredible ideas bouncing around in Tesla's mind. His notebooks contained concepts that were so far ahead of their time, modern scientists are literally still catching up today. Take the teleforce, for example. Tesla theorized a death ray, basically a particle beam weapon so precise it could take out aircraft from hundreds of miles away. But here's the thing, he didn't want to use it to conquer nations. No, he offered it to governments worldwide as a weapon of peace. He genuinely believed it would be a deterrent so impossibly powerful that war itself would become completely obsolete. Sadly, nobody took him seriously. Well, not until it was way too late.
Fast forward to 1943. The man who illuminated Niagara Falls died alone, in absolute poverty, in a New York hotel room he could barely afford. But here's where it gets crazy. Within hours, literally hours of his death, the U.S. government, specifically the Office of Alien Property, swooped in and seized every single document, notebook, and blueprint in that room. Everything was instantly classified. Some files weren't declassified for decades, and others, they've just been lost entirely.
It begs a pretty massive question for all of us to ponder, right? What exactly was in those papers? I mean, what did Nikola Tesla know that was so revolutionary and so deeply dangerous that a government felt compelled to lock it all away the very moment he drew his last breath?
Finally, Section 5. Tesla's Modern Legacy. A world built by Tesla.
You know, the ultimate vindication for Tesla is that our entire modern society is literally built on his suppressed genius. We're talking radio, radar, fluorescent lighting, the remote control, wireless communication, the very foundations of robotics, and even the fundamentals of X-ray technology. Every bit of this originated directly from Nikola Tesla's mind. The world he imagined completely surrounds us today, even if the car company that carries his name, which is worth hundreds of billions, by the way, is the only time a lot of people actually hear it.
And I want to point out a historical injustice that perfectly sums up his whole life. Guglielmo Marconi was actually awarded the Nobel Prize for inventing the radio. But in 1943, the exact same year Tesla died, the U.S. Supreme Court quietly stepped in and overturned Marconi's patent, finally crediting Tesla as the true inventor. But guess what? The Nobel Prize was never returned. And those history books you read back in school, they were never properly rewritten.
Walk through this big what if with me for a second. Imagine a totally alternate history where Wardenclyffe was never torn down, where the 20th century kicked off not with bloody oil wars and coal mines, but with clean, wireless power flowing freely to everyone. We might have skipped an entire century of fossil fuel dependency. Climate catastrophe might have been completely avoided. Humanity might have reached the stars decades sooner. Tesla built the future, and he just had to sit there and watch the world take it from him, dollar by dollar. But despite losing his patents, despite losing his wealth, the sheer impact of his mind is completely undeniable. Every single time alternating current surges through a wire, every time a wireless signal travels through the air, and every single time the lights come on across the city skyline, Nikola Tesla wins, again, and again, and again. His legacy is, without a doubt, truly immortal.
Tesla was a man from another time entirely. And the real tragedy here? It wasn't that the world wasn't ready for him. The tragedy is that the world knew exactly what he was. So I'm going to leave you with this one haunting final question to think about. Where would humanity be right now, today, if the world had actually chosen progress over profit? The vault is sealed for now, but the current never stops. Keep asking the big questions, and thank you so much for exploring with me today.